I want to talk about reinvention. And I feel like in some ways it's interesting because I think that like well, if you watched the masterclass last week, in a sense, what I'm saying is do a lot of the same thing, stack your momentum. Like we talked about the flywheel, like let your flywheel keep spinning and it's going to get easier and easier. And there are very real things where like, yes, we have to reinvent, we have to show up. Things are different. People are wanting different things, etc. And there is 100% a way to blend those two. And I feel like where most people are getting stuck in our space is they're either like doing what they've always done and are getting pissed and resentful that it's not working how it used to, or they're blowing everything up. They're like, I need a bunch of new offers and totally new messaging and totally new content and totally new audience. And like, what I really want to talk about today is like neither. You need a couple really, really key things that help you keep evolving, keep reinventing, keep moving with what people want, what consumers are doing, what the space is doing, et cetera. And I feel like when we do both of those things together is when it's really easy to be a business owner that feels, steady, stable, but also creative and inventive and like they're able to change and adapt and like those can live together. And they do not have to be enemies in this thing we're doing. Hey Nova, the big shift stuff is my jam. So stoked to dive in. Amazing. Okay. So I've been talking about this for like a long ass time now. So I won't spend most of this talking about that because I feel like, duh, we all know the space has shifted a lot. I feel like in some ways it was like quiet for a little while where it's like, hey, some shifts are happening. And now it's like, if you are still doing what you were doing in 2021, like your shit isn't working very well anymore, I think is the truth, right? And I think we have to be honest about that a little bit more than we always are in our space of like um everybody who is really doing this thing, who's staying in it is having to figure out like what does reinvention look like for me now? But I think for so many people reinvention feels like death, rebirth, all of that. And I think it can in these micro ways, but I don't think it has to be like the only path, right? Typically, if you're going to go through that big, like, upheaval in your business, it should be because of something internal. Like you've had a tremendous shift. And so you want to change anything. You should not be going through these massive swings because of industry changes. If we're talking about like the industry and consumer preferences have shifted, you should be able to shift and reinvent your business within those things to get better results, right? So when we're talking about like these huge reinventions and these huge shifts, that should come from in here. That should come from like an identity shift you have had that tells you like whatever, like what I'm doing is no longer aligned or working or what I want to be building a business on. Fuck it, reinvent everything then. Like I'm with you, right? By all means. But if you are doing that because you think that because our industry has shifted, that's what you're being called to, or that's what you're supposed to do, or to get anyone to buy from you, that's what has to happen. I'm here to tell you that is not true. Um, that is where everyone gets stuck, right? Is they feel like they shouldn't do it for themselves. They should do it for everybody else, or again, to like get people to buy or whatever. And I think it can be so, so detrimental because at the end of the day, like your business is going to be the most successful if you feel the most aligned to it. And I know that's like the eye rolly thing, but I think what people really miss is there is a way to do both. Like you can change with an adapting industry, a space that like needs and wants new things from you without having to give up the pieces that you feel so drawn to, connected to, that made you start all of those things, right? Again, if those are changing, if why you started this doesn't align anymore, if a message that you used to have does not in any way, shape, or form fit with the version of you now, do anything you need to do to make that align. But if all of that is still true for you and you're just trying to figure out like why does my content not perform like it did in 2021 or whatever, like that is a different thing. And I really, really want to talk about that a little bit today because I feel like you should not have to be reinventing everything about your business to stay relevant. You should be able to make small tweaks within what you're already doing to make adjustments to how things are right now or where things are right now. And if you don't see a path to that, like today, I want to give you that path. I want to be like, you do not have to like change everything about everything to fit into the current state of the industry. Okay. The only reason you ever have to change everything about everything in your business is if you have had such a massive internal shift that it aligns to that. Are we on the same page as that? Because I feel like that's such an important first thing. Like if you are making that sweeping broad of a change in your business, that has to be coming from in here. And if not, then it needs to be strategically happening without feeling like you have to change the in here piece. Okay. So, I mean, in terms of what's actually changed, like again, I'll just say it quickly, but I feel like I've been talking about that a lot, but I want to make sure not to like miss that point. But like trust is in very, 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 very low, low capacity right now. I think there's very little trust in the online space art industry. Everyone is, instead of kind of, I think, coming with like a positive assumption, they're almost the opposite. It's almost like I assume you're a scammer, prove me wrong kind of thing. And I'm not saying that's everybody everywhere, but I'm just saying like as a whole, the way people could just like have a podcast and be trusted in 2021 versus now is different. And I actually think that's really positive for our industry in many ways. But it can be harder for your sales process and for your buying cycles and all of those things. So trust is huge. I think most people are calling it a trust recession. I think that's like a very accurate frame for it. Um, I think personality and personal branding is mattering way more than ever. Like, um, I don't think that we want to just hear why you're such an expert. I think we want to see it. We want you to storytell around it. We want you to show us. We want you to embody it. We want to hear stories about it. We want to feel like we're with you on the journey. I think people don't want to be talked at anymore. They want to be talked with. Um, Again, all things we've talked about in here, all things we know. I think the other thing is that we don't want content that ChatGPT could have created like on its own almost. Do you know what I mean? Like 5 steps to da 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 da. Like back in 2021, I think that was like exciting in some ways. I also think that um like the preference for like more information was still there, where I feel like people are almost turned off by more information now because it's everywhere all the time and you can get it constantly and you can get a full supply of it, an overdose of it, if you will, anytime you want, everywhere you want it, from ChatGPT, from TikTok, from Instagram, from anyone, right? And so that doesn't attract us in the way it used to. You know, it used to be like, how much can you put in your course? How much value can you give them? And it's not what people find attractive anymore. Like they're inundated with information. They're absolutely overwhelmed by it. So the idea of more of it isn't actually attractive anymore. You know what I mean? Um, I think that that's like a really important lens through all of this. And I think that's why we like the more personal brand personality stuff, because we're so inundated with information, knowledge. You should be doing this. You should be doing that. You should be doing this. That like that isn't attractive in the way that it initially was. So I think that's changed a lot. Nikki said, I think people want a deeper level than just or a level deeper than just a quote. Like, okay, have you experienced that, or how has that played out in real life? Or your take on a particular thing? 100%. Absolutely. And I think if you're giving them something to do, they want it to feel relatively simple, again, because overwhelm is at an all-time high, right? Like they don't want 32 steps to go blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? Like they want like, go journal on this one thing or insert whatever that is. But it's like this idea that I think we still have in our space sometimes is that like information is, it has totally left the building. Okay. If anything, it's the exact opposite. Um, and so for a lot of people, I think that really position themselves as this like teacher, expert, like get these 3,000 bonuses and blah, blah, blah. Like they are having to reinvent quite a bit. Their audience wants to see them. They want more than just one more bonus training, et cetera, et cetera. And so, you know, I think that can be hard. And I think for a lot of people, it feels like they have to burn it all down, or like they would have to totally start over, or like they can't do that and maintain momentum at the same time. So I want to bring it back for a second. If you didn't come to Unstoppable Growth, what I talked about there were like a few really key principles that are boring as fuck in some ways, but just like absolutely work every fucking time. Which are like have a core offer that you go all in on, use data to drive your decisions, stay in front of the same audience, build demand that outpaces your capacity, create results that sell for you, and like stack your flywheel. Obviously, if you were there, you know what I'm talking about, but I don't need to go into that again. But like, here's what I want to say to you that I think is so important. And this is why business principles and basics and foundations matter so fucking much, because there's not a single thing on that list that you cannot do reinvention within. Okay. That is when life gets so good and so easy and business feels so much simpler, is when you're like, oh yeah, I have one core offer. I look at the data, I'm talking to the same audience. I get my people really, really, really good results, blah, blah, blah. How do I reinvent within that? Oh, okay, let's like talk about that, because if you have those things, reinvention is going to be simple for you. If you don't have those things, or if you decide it's so much more than those things, reinvention is going to feel like burning it all to the ground. So, on the first note, one core offer. Cool. Is your core offer still helpful to people? Is it still like meeting them where they're at? Like, if it is, great. If it's not, okay, what do you need to shift about that? Like, it doesn't have to be like, oh my God, burn down my whole offer suite. Like, for example, let's say your core offer was that course with 3,000 bonuses or whatever. Cool. Maybe you're just simplifying that. Like maybe you're taking, I've done this with so many clients. Like I can think of a couple clients specifically. I'll use one as an example. She has a membership. We are not trying to change the membership as her core offer, but we know her audience is more overwhelmed than ever. So things we used to do, like be like, you get this call and this thing and this thing and this thing that used to be really attractive are less attractive. So what have we done? We've made the membership simpler. We've made it meet her people where they are. So we're not creating a whole new core offer. We're reinventing her core offer to meet her people where they're at right now. That is the exciting part. That's when your audience also builds the trust with you that we've been talking about is missing, because they don't see you just jumping ship as soon as like the tides change. You're like, no, this is still the thing, but I'm going to move with you. I'm going to make it better for you. I'm hearing you and I'm going to adjust. That is trust, right? It reminds me of like if you have a fight with your partner and you're like, hey, it like really hurt my feelings when you said XYZ. And they're like, fine, I'll just never, ever, ever say it again. And you're like, uh, thank you. But like, that's not trust building. Like, I don't actually feel better when you say that. That feels so extreme and blah, blah. So it's like that with our offers sometimes, where it's like, oh, well, we're over, fine. You're just overwhelmed by the membership. I'm just going to like never, ever, ever have it again. And da-da-da. Like, it's such an extreme approach and it doesn't build trust. When they're like, oh, I see the nuance of how it would upset you in this situation and not here. I'm really going to work on blah, blah, blah. Like, that's trust building. Same with your audience. Oh, I see how it's gotten a little overwhelming in this way. We're actually going to shift it in this way. That's trust. That's, oh, when Nikki built XYZ, right? I'm just using your name and face. But like when Nikki built X, she believed in it. She really does think that's the thing. And she's willing to move with it. Like that is the trust that so many people are looking for. And you can create that so easily if you lean in there instead of going to that extreme of like, okay, never again, burn it all down. Like, no, that's not it. All right. The next thing was like use data to drive decisions. Okay, well, if your data is telling you that what you used to do, like let's say in terms of marketing, isn't working anymore, you don't need to reinvent everything. You need to go, what is the data telling me now? I feel like so many people in our space get so pissed off that what used to work isn't working anymore in the same way. And it keeps them so stuck because they stay in resentment, they stay in frustration instead of being like, that's how business goes. There's always going to be things where what used to work isn't working anymore. And our job is to find the easiest path to get them working again instead of making it so hard on ourselves by doing and forcing the same thing over and over, thinking that somehow, like, if we force it enough, it will work again. Like, if your data is telling you that it's consistently not working, it's time to make a change. It's kind of that simple. And again, that's what reinvention looks like. Okay, so what is working for you? You literally could know. You know what I mean? Like, sorry, cough drop. You could literally know. That's what's so great about this. Like, oh, when I talk about X, it works really well. Like, again, just on the personal brand thing, like Nikki was saying, like, they want a deeper level than just a quote. Oh, okay. So when I go a deeper level, I get a lot more engagement. I get people reaching out to me. Amazing. I could just do more of that. Like, this is still reinvention. I feel like I've massively reinvented my content in some ways with doing very, very little that is wildly different in the sense of like, I didn't change my message. I didn't like start over all my platforms. I didn't change my audience, like literally none of it. And I've massively reinvented how I frame things, how I talk about things, the lens I use, all of that, because I saw what was working. And so you can go through these big reinventions without losing momentum if you actually pay attention to what your audience and data is telling you. It gets so simple then. And I think that that's where we struggle sometimes is we think if it takes reinvention that it has to be harder than that, right? Like, oh, reinvention must mean this big thing. Instead of it means like a lot of small tweaks to your main thing. But if you keep tweaking your main thing every time, what are you doing? You're working completely against yourself because that is not how you're going to build real trust with your audience, right? If they see you constantly, like we all follow these people who every week there's a new offer and it's like the thing that made all the difference for them. And it's always a different thing. Like this week it's this thing and it changed their whole business and it's why they're making this. Next week it's changed their whole business and why they're making this, but it's this other thing. Like, do you see what I mean? And so that is not trust building. That looks like you're working against yourself. You're making it so hard on yourself because you're always starting over. You can reinvent without starting over. And that's what data helps you do. It helps you go, oh, yeah, that thing that used to crush in 2021 just doesn't anymore. I've tried it like 5 times and it never works anymore. But you know what actually works is this other thing. That's really interesting. I wonder if I could just do more of that. Like that is how simple it can fucking be. Hey, Emily. Can you speak to what you see working for your clients who are running ad funnels these days? Any small changes that you've seen really work, specifically around building trust with a cold audience? Yeah, I mean, I think longer um, warm up is, a big part of that to a certain extent, which I think is very frustrating in some ways. But like, instead of like, I think, I'm going to talk very broadly and very traditionally, but I feel like it used to be like webinar to sale, or like challenge sale, period. It worked most of the time. Now I think free to free is working better, like freebie webinar sale, maybe even longer than that. Freebie, paid product, webinar sale, low cost paid product, right? But it's like sometimes I think we have to extend that front end, which I think can be really, really frustrating for us, especially from an ads perspective, right? Because we're kind of risking or putting more on the line there. But I think everybody is buying in longer cycles. I think that really like quick, they find you and buy from you in 3 days still works in some cases, but I think it doesn't work unless you're doing quite a bit of the pushy marketing that a lot of us don't, always resonate with. Yeah, free to free. Yes, exactly. Longer sales cycles overall. Um, and I think that like the free thing is really helpful when you like are showing them and building that trust of like, I'm willing to give you multiple free things. Like that is trust building. And I know a lot of people in our industry will eye roll that and they'll be like, no, they should just be ready to buy. If they don't want it, da, 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 da. But like, if you've been massively hurt in a relationship, sometimes it's nice to go slow in your second one. You know what it like, or in your next one. Like, I think we have to stop pretending that there are these like perfect way for buyers to behave and not get our ego so in it. Not you at all, Emily. I'm just talking about the space in general, but not get our ego so in it where it's like, oh my God, I would never give someone 2 free things. Like, why the fuck not? Do you know what I mean? So anyway, I see free to free working very well. And then also having some like low ticket, easy step in there, I think is really helpful too. Because if we need to build trust, it's like helpful for them to get in there and be like, oh, wow, Emily over delivers. Oh, like I really like how she teaches, or I really like the value that Sarah, whatever, that makes it easier to step into the next thing. Um, the other thing I see is guarantees. I think those are like really, really helping right now. I think it really depends on your offer and what that is, but I do think um, a lot of people using guarantees are having really good success with them. And I think that if you can find a way to frame it that makes sense for your particular offer, it can be a really, really big linchpin in making people feel that trust and safety initially to take the step of like, okay, if I really do this and it doesn't work out for me, X happen. Like I get to stay in the program or I get a refund or like insert whatever thing. But I do think that that's very trust building. Sometimes that's hard depending on like how high level your support is and all of that kind of stuff. But I think there's like ways to play around it, but that would be another thing. So it's like we're adding these little things of like, get a taste of it. It's okay. Do these multiple free things. I got you. You need a guarantee? Okay. Let's position it in this way. So it's just like all of this like safety building stuff. Um, and I think it's showing them that it's like okay to ask for that. Do you know what I mean? Like, again, I always like link it to relationships in my head, but it's like, say you had like a traumatic experience or a really bad breakup or whatever. If in your next dating endeavor, you said to somebody, hey, like it would make me feel really safe if we could talk about X. And they were like, ew, you obviously don't like me that much if you want to talk about X. Bye. You'd be like, well, I fucking dodged a red flag there. Like, that's wild. Why wouldn't that person be willing to talk about that? Why wouldn't they show up for that? And I think it's very similar in the online space, right? Like, when people get so like, oh my God, well, you just don't want it, or you should be converting so fast, so that like, that really is not the message that we're supposed to like, that is going to be sent to truly create trust and safety. So anyway, I hope that helps. But like, I think it's just a lot of those things. And I do think it's just like extending it, a bit on the front end, obviously, like the low cost offer in there can offset that longer timeline, but I do think it helps a lot. Um, so the other thing I talked about in unstoppable growth is stay in front of the same audience. And I think this is a big one that people get wrong with reinvention is they think it means a new audience. If this audience isn't buying from me, they are the problem. Reinvention looks like going and finding a new one. This is the kiss of death to reinvention for so many people. You're so welcome. Because it resets so much of the trust that they've built, the momentum they've created, the work that they've done. I promise you, if you are reinventing, if your consumer behavior is changing, if your data is telling you your audience wants something else, they want you to reinvent. They don't need you to leave. Okay. Right? Like, I think that's such a misconception is like, they're probably the perfect audience to reinvent with then. Like there's something about you they resonated with, there's something you were talking about that really got them to follow, to connect, to whatever. So if you're sticking to that same message but trying to talk about it in a different way, these are the perfect fucking people to test that with, right? When reinvention looks like new, it's so much harder to actually figure out if that's working or not. Again, if you personally, like this is important to keep saying, if you personally are like, whatever, I used to be a business coach and now I want to be a relationship coach, like, fine, go get a new audience. Like, by all means, like, do whatever feels good to you in terms of like who you are serving. But if you think the problem is I'm a business coach and I still want to be a business coach, but these fucking people aren't buying, great, they are your people to reinvent with. Why not? Figure that out, right? Go deeper there. Ask them, what safety do they need? What trust could you build? What are they looking for that's different? Like back in November of 2023, sorry. My audience was so disengaged on Instagram. Granted, I'd never really tried that hard on Instagram, but I was putting content there very regularly. My audience was just not that engaged. Like I would get like, I don't know, 800 views on a reel. And by the way, that was when real views were much higher than they were now. So like context. Um, it would have been so easy to be like, these are not the right people. I should go reinvent. Instead, I was like, I'm not talking to these people in the right way. How can I reinvent that? It's way easier, right? It took me like a month until they were more engaged, and then a few months until it really started to snowball. Like now it's been like almost what, a year and a half or something like that. Night and day. Like that versus if I had started over a year and a half in, like the momentum would not have rebuilt like that. Okay. So I just think it is so helpful to be like, let's assume if you're seeing a need for reinvention, you have the perfect audience in front of you to do that with because they are what is signaling to you that it's time for reinvention. Like it sounds so obvious when I say it like that, but so many people get in ego, get in resentment, get so frustrated that they just want to run away, right? Or go get someone, go get a new audience, go get someone else, it'll be better with them. Like, again, it's like what we do in relationships, like, so easy to grass is greener, right? But if something's not working here, it's probably not going to work there. So can I figure this out first, right? And then maybe I still go over there. But it's probably the first place to figure out, you know? Nikki said, think about Beyonce. We were all soldiers and independent women, and now we play Texas Hold'em. Oh my God, that's so good. But yes, like, we're like, take us with you, babe. You know, your audience feels the same. Like, they want to see you evolve. They want to see you grow. They want to see you reinvent. And they're probably on a similar journey if they're in the similar space and have similar values and ethos to you. Like, trust them, let them come with you. You know, I think that that is just so huge. Like reinvention can happen within long-term relationships. Like reinvention doesn't look like running, you know? And you are in a long-term relationship with your audience. Let them see you, take them with you. You know how trust building that is? Um, like that's it. And that's what so many people are afraid to let their audience see. And that is why so many people cannot get past this hump of how things have changed. Like hands down. You can see so many people that have been in this industry for a long ass time, and you're like, oh, you are struggling right now. And it's not because you're not fucking fantastic at what you do, or you wouldn't have been in this for so long. It's because you have not figured out how to be vulnerable enough to reinvent in front of the same audience. That requires a level of vulnerability to let them see you try something new, to let them see you be a beginner at something, to let them see you go, huh, what always used to work isn't working anymore. I'm going to try this instead. You know, like let them do that with you. You are creating so much trust in that, but you got to put your shit to the side to do it. Um, yeah, exactly. Emily said it. She was quoting what I said, but like if something's not working here, it's probably not going to work over there. Like that is so true with me in Instagram. What I was talking about in 2023. I could have gone and replicated that content for any other audience and it still wouldn't have worked because the problem was my fucking content. Like, you know? And I think this is why people get stuck in such a cycle of working so hard. I'm sick of seeing so many women work so fucking hard when it does not have to be that hard. I'm not saying we don't have to work or we don't have to show up, but I'm saying I think most of the industry is making it 5 times, 50 times harder than it needs to be because of stuff like that. I could have reinvented with 4 new audiences, and if I didn't change what I was doing, it wouldn't have changed, you know? Um, so like the vulnerability of that, the let them see me try something new. I even think you would be so surprised how well those things perform quite quickly because your audience is so excited to see that from you. Like I remember, I don't think my first few reels did that well because I think they were not good in any way. But I think the first reel that I did that was like genuinely good performed super well because I think my audience was like so excited to see that side of me and to see me showing up like that. And they were like ready for that reinvention in me. And so just like, you know, work to trust your audience in that, to like believe that that vulnerability is going to help you solve so many of the problems we're talking about with like trust and all of that, like that type of reinvention in front of those same people is so valuable to your business. And then once you do it once, you're kind of unstoppable because you're like, I could do this again and again. Like because it's going to, if shit changes again in our space in 3 years again, or 4 years, or things completely shift, you're like, oh yeah, I've been here, done that before. My people love watching me do this shit. I got this. Like, this is what trust building looks like. This is what trusting your business, trusting your audience looks like. And this is where you really feel like, I got this. Like, the industry can change, what people want can change. And like, I trust that I don't have to like pretzel myself into that in a way that doesn't feel true to me, but I can change the hardware. I don't have to like, um, demolish the house. I can just change the hardware every time. And the more I change the hardware, the more I trust myself that I'm like really good at quick and changing the hardware. Like, that to me is the reinvention that lasts, that's sustainable, that you can trust, that every time something new happens, you're like, okay, it's not my fave, but I probably got it. Like, that's how I felt about making that change to Instagram. I'm like, I'm not super excited to be on video all the time. I don't really want to like point at shit and dance, but like, I don't know. I feel like I can try it. I can try that more than I want to like try changing my whole message and ethos and value system and blah, blah, blah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's actually easy when you think about it like that. Um, okay, so the other thing I talked about was like creating results that sell for you. Okay. So easy. If the industry has changed and the appetite has changed and consumer behavior has changed, what do you need to change to help your clients get better results? This is reinvention. Oh, yeah, well, we used to have a module on this, but actually, we really should add a module on this. Or, oh, yeah, we used to help our clients by doing X extra calls, but now what they really need from us is actually more reviews. And so we're changing how we're doing that. Like, these little reinventions go such a long way, but if you're the North Star should be the same, right? It's not like, oh, okay, well, to get our clients results, obviously we can't have a group program anymore. I'm like, what? No, has nothing to do with that. It's like, if we want to keep getting clients great results, how can we keep refining what we're doing in this program that has already worked and been proven to work if we keep refining it, right? Obviously, that's why I love one-on-one in some ways, because I'm like, well, it keeps working because I keep refining it. Keeps working because I'm like, yeah, I know I told you that worked in 2021. It fucking doesn't now. Like, here's why. Here's what I think you should do instead. Like, if you can do that in your programs, and your programs will keep generating results. If you see your program as this like fixed static thing that you're unwilling to change, or again, that maybe like your ego is telling you not to change, or that you feel like people won't trust you if you change, you're totally missing the point. People will trust you because you're like, hey, we're throwing out this module and we're putting in this one. Hey, we're keeping everything, but we're adding a bonus on XYZ because actually you need this a bunch too, like whatever. Um, but if you keep making changes and reinventing in a way that keep helping your clients get results, even when things have shifted, that's when you win. It's not start over, ever. Better, more refined, more applicable to the now, but it's so much easier to do that because you're re-recording one module or whatever. You're not like, okay, now what are we teaching? Like, I just cannot say enough how much work that is. When you're like, okay, well, this program isn't it anymore. But what I also see it on the opposite front, and I really want to talk about this for a second too. I see so many people that won't admit that. And so they keep teaching exactly the same thing in exactly the same way. And they think anyone that doesn't get results in that, it's their problem. Well, this has worked for people before, so it's your problem. And it's like, okay, but like there's an intersection there. There's a middle ground there. Where like, yes, it has worked for people before. When? Oh, yeah, in 2021. Okay. So we do need to update it to get people better results. And the people that dig their heels in so hard on that are going to hit this tipping point where their business can't adjust for that. It cannot hold that runway long enough anymore because the results stopped 2 years ago. If you're like, hey, you're right, that did get people amazing results. And here are the incremental shifts that are now helping people get better results with that. And I think this is true whether you're like in business, in health, in fitness, in like photography, whatever. Like there's always improvements, adjustments. I mean, AI has made such leaps and bounds in terms of like what it can connect us with, the information it can give us, all of that kind of stuff. And so it is our responsibility to move with that. You know what I mean? Emily said, oof, this one. Yeah. Um, and I feel like the resistance to that is so much more ego driven. It's so much more, what does this mean about me if I'm changing something? Or, what I think happens for a lot of people is they're like, I don't fucking know what's working out either. I'm trying to figure it out. And so they're scared to go teach more instead of even just leaning into that. Like, I mean, I think about that with AI all the time. Like, I feel like as soon as we get like, you know, oh yeah, like this is a really good way to use it, it absolutely is going to leap. And then we're like, oh, yeah, that's sort of an outdated way to think about it or use it. Do this now, right? But like your audience doesn't care if they can go with you, if you're bringing them with you, if you're bringing them along, that's trust building. I feel like I've seen so many people be like, I said I would never use AI and now I do. I'm like, why would you say you would never use it before? Do you know what I mean? Like it, we need to say to our audience, hey, this isn't my thing right now. Or hey, this isn't working for me. Or like, hey, this is working right now and this isn't. I'm always going to bring you along with me. That is trust building to me. It's not trying to be the expert 24/7 all the time at every turn. It's being really honest. Like if you're still learning a thing, tell them that, hey, I'm still really testing XYZ. So part of this program is going to be a 30-day challenge where we do XYZ together. Like even that is totally fine. It's trust building, it's authentic, it's still valuable, it's being in it with them, it's helping, like learn in a way that is supportive and truthful and honest and reflective. So I just think that that idea that you have to be perfect around that also keeps people really stuck. They're like, the reason I use AI is because I think that's the perfect example. Like if you're waiting until you're the perfect user or whatever, you're absolutely fucked in every imaginable way because it's going to keep jumping. You're never going to get there. But if you have a program that really, really, really would massively benefit from that and you haven't incorporated that yet, like that might be impacting your sales a lot. Just as an example, right? You have to just do the best with what you can. And if your people get better and better results from that, your program will continue to grow. That is reinvention without giving up the basics, without being like, oh yeah, of course I want results. Of course I want a core offer. Of course I want to speak to the same audience. You can reinvent in all of that. How can I build more trust? How can I build more safety? What do they need to get better results? What am I changing? What should they be changing? Where have I not updated my program in years? What new information might they really benefit from? Like these small, simple questions are the ones that we tend to ignore in favor of the change everything kind of mentality, because sometimes that feels safer. And I want to like speak to that for one moment. Sometimes what feels safer is to change it all. If you feel like something's not working right now, what your body loves is the idea that it could all be different again. Like let's use that relationship example. If you're really struggling inside a relationship, these fantasies of like being with someone that doesn't have these problems are so appealing, you know, because it seems easier, it seems simpler. It's like, oh, then I wouldn't have to worry about all this, you know, but I promise you it's always more work. And it doesn't mean it's not worth it. Sometimes you do need to leave the relationship. Sometimes you do need to reinvent the business if that is what you are internally being called to do. But if it's because of the external of like, oh, it's a lot to like talk to this human a lot, or like, oh, it's a lot to like think about what they need now and make this shit, like that's okay. But like my recommendation is that's where you should be getting the support and doing the work, not on like the fancy promises of like, oh, if you just like whatever, stop doing all of this and become an authority in this, then everything will get easy. Like, no, it won't if you don't fix these things. You are here to be in business, to learn, to grow, to evolve from your business. And so if you're not taking the lessons it's handing you and you're always just putting those to the side in favor of starting something else, that is the biggest time waster you could possibly have because you're never actually taking the lesson. Again, same with the relationship parallel, right? If you don't learn from whatever struggle you have in this relationship, it's just coming with you into the next. So whether you stay or go, it's really worth it to learn from this one right now, you know? And I think that's so true with your business. Nikki said, what would you say might be some blocks someone might have? Oh my God, I'm struggling. What would you say might be some blocks someone might have? They have trouble with this, bringing people along with them. Like they're doing all these things, but they don't know how to bring people along. I mean, what I typically think, and obviously like it really depends on the situation, but I think it's just like how, like, are you willing to go into the vulnerability of that? Like, I think some people try to bring people along, so to speak, but what they really mean is I made a change and I want you to immediately see me as the expert in this. um, Instead of being like, hey, I'm reinventing some of this. I'm learning this too. Here's what I'm gaining from it. Here's what I've noticed working. Here's what I'm not. Like, here's what I'm really struggling with in this. Like, the vulnerability aspect of that, I think, is so trust building, but I also think it's what creates a block for some people, especially if you've spent, I think a lot of people have, years and years and years in a business being seen as the expert. Bringing that level of vulnerability of like, come along with me, we'll see how this thing goes, is it feels completely unsafe, right? Like, it feels not just the true like emotional vulnerability of it, but like the practical feels unsafe. It's like, well, I've made money by being an expert. And so to blatantly say I am not an expert in this feels so threatening, feels so scary. Um, and so I think that that's real. And I think that like that's, you know, such a normal thing to struggle with for people. But I do think it's the edge that if a lot more people leaned into, we would be seeing a different, landscape in our space. Yeah, Emily said yes to the relief of escape. Exactly. Perfectly said. Vulnerability. Dang it. No. Hey, Alyssa, good to see you. Um, but yeah, I do think it's a vulnerability part. Like, I'll just share from my perspective, and I'm not saying this is like the most vulnerable thing I've ever done, but like just sharing to people, like, I'm trying reels, I'm seeing what happens, I'm exploring this, I'm experimenting with this. Oh, it seems like some people like this, it seems like less people like this. Oh, interesting. Da, da, da. Like, I think, like, in a sense that's really vulnerable because I'm a business coach and I'm supposed to be helping you grow, and I'm like, oh, I don't know, it kind of works when I point at shit on a video. Like, I think there's this way in which you could be putting yourself out there and be like, oh, people aren't going to see me as the expert. But I think for the most part, I personally don't want any clients that think there is this like one perfect way to do things on Instagram. And if you just learn so and so's perfect method, you'll go viral every time and da da da. And so the reason I don't mind leaning into the vulnerability of that sometimes is because my best clients know that we're always doing that with Instagram. We're always figuring it out. We're always tweaking. We're always learning. We're always adapting. And so it lines up there too. I imagine the same is true with a lot of this vulnerability stuff. Like, if your best clients bring vulnerability and realness and whatever, you modeling that is one of the best things you can do for your business to attract the right people. So I feel like that really is a helpful way to think about it. Like, yes, it's about bringing that vulnerability, but like in some ways there's like a strategic element of it because you're saying like, hey, don't come to me and expect nothing to ever feel challenging or to never have to test and tweak or whatever. I'm out here doing it too, you know? Um, and I think that in some ways gets easier. Like, I imagine, again, you could apply this to like anything. Like, if you're like a health and fitness person, you're still always tweaking what you have to do. Like, bring them along, let them see that. Like, you don't want someone coming to you that's like, well, I shouldn't have plateaued because you told me to eat X and I did. And now I'm at a plateau. Like, fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, we want to be careful of like what the overall image and positioning is to a certain extent, because that's when we get clients that are unhappy with our program or that don't trust us because they're like, wait, this was supposed to be easy and perfect. Like, what happened? Um, so anyway, I think that's some of the value of the vulnerability aspect. Yeah, Shannon said vulnerability feels so hard. I think that's some of the value of it is you're really, like Nikki said, yes, doing that modeling and showing them like, hey, we're all learning. That's part of it. If you come coach with me, we're going to do this for you too. We're going to look at your shit, what's working, what's not. Let's test, let's tweak, like, because that is what the work is going to be. And I think it's helpful for them to be watching that, because what they see on the front of the scenes is going to be what they get behind the scenes. That's when trust is built. That's when you have really happy clients. That's when they refer you. That's when they stay. And that's when that flywheel keeps spinning faster and faster and faster. And you can reinvent within that. And again, that's sort of the point of all of this. Like, everybody needs to be thinking about reinvention right now. But think about it in a strategic way. Think about it in micro tweaks, shifts to how you're talking about things, what lens you're using, how you're bringing people along with you, not these big ways that make it so much harder for you of like burn down your offer, get a new audience. Like, the amount of work that is going to take for you versus being like, oh yeah, I could maybe lean into sharing my process here a little bit more is so extreme. So anyway, I hope that helps. And again, if you want to reinvent because you feel totally differently, you want to work in a different industry, whatever, let yourself. Like sometimes the pivot is the best thing you can do. But if you're feeling pulled just because your sales has slowed or whatever, this is the way to think about it. You can reinvent in terms of every foundational element you've created. And that's how the reinvention happens faster. It's more successful, et cetera, because you're building on all of this stuff. You're not burning down to rebuild, right? It's like if I wanted to redecorate my house and make it feel fresh and reinvent it, I would just make little tweaks. I wouldn't fucking light it on fire and then rebuild it. You know what I mean? Like that, like that's how we have to think about the business. That if the foundation is there, work off of it, build off of it, use what's there and make it work better for you. Like that's exactly where results lie. And it's when they're fastest and easiest. Like having a burnt down house with a blank slate feels fun in a sense, but fuck, I'm like 3 years out. Whatever, I don't know, probably from being back to where I want it to be fully designed, whatever, versus like I might be a month out if I use what's already here. Think about that in your business. And I think it really can make a big difference. So I hope that helps. Nikki said there's honestly so much in this live. Definitely going to rewatch. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you guys all for being here. I so appreciate it. Thank you so much of you came to Unstoppable Growth last week too. That was so fun. I love doing that with y'all. That's all I got. I hope you have a beautiful week and I'll see y'all soon. Bye guys.